Hi, everybody. Coach Ted here. Welcome to another Facebook Live from Live Fully with ADHD. I'm your ADHD life coach. And, I love helping people like you to get more organized and more productive so that you enjoy life. I say this every week, but enjoying life, right? That's what it's all about. So that's what I'm all about, is helping people enjoy life. Last week I talked about becoming more aware of time. And you can find that video if you click on the video tab on the left side of this page. And you can find the one that I did last week. So today I'm going to be talking about dealing with your inner critic. This is actually one of my favorite topics. And I want to thank those of you in my Facebook group that participated in the poll about topics for this broadcast and who chose this topic. And speaking in my Facebook group, at the end, I'm going to be inviting you to join my group, and I'll give you more information about that when we get there. So let me read you something here, a little story. Okay. So there once was a dreadfully wicked hobgoblin. One day he had a simply marvelous idea. He was going to make a looking glass that would reflect everything that was good and beautiful in such a way that it would look dreadful, or at least not very important. When you looked in it, you would not be able to see any of the good or the beautiful in yourself or in the world. In contrast, this looking glass would reflect everything that was bad and ugly quite clearly and make it look very important. The most beautiful landscapes would look like heaps of garbage, and the best people would look repulsive or would seem stupid. People's faces would be so changed they could not be recognized. And if there was anything that a person was ashamed of or wanted to hide, you could be sure that this would be just the thing that the looking glass emphasized. The hobgoblin set about making this looking glass, and when he was finished, was delighted with what he had done. Anyone who looked into it could only see the bad and the ugly, and all that was good and beautiful in the world was distorted beyond recognition. One day, the hobgoblin's assistants decided to carry the looking glass up to the heavens so that even the angels would look into it and see themselves as ugly and stupid. They hoped that perhaps even God himself or herself would look into it. But as they reached the heavens, a great invisible force stopped them, and they dropped the dreadful looking glass. And as it fell, it broke into millions and billions of pieces. And now came the greatest misfortune of all. Each of the pieces was hardly as large as a grain of sand, and they flew about all over the world. And if anyone got a bit of glass in his eye, there it stayed, and then he would see everything as ugly, or else could only see the bad sides of a case. Everything good would look stupid, for every tiny splinter of glass possessed the same power that the whole glass had. Some people got a splinter in their hearts, and that was dreadful too, for then their hearts would turn into a lump of ice and could no love. The hobgoblin watched all this, and he laughed till his sides ached, and still the tiny bits of glass flew about. And now we will hear about it. This was adapted from The Snow Queen by Hans Christian Andersen. So the inner critic, or what I like to call the gremlin, is like that bit of mirror. It is that inner voice or part of ourselves that criticizes us and speaks about us in a disparaging way. It makes everything look ugly. And most of us are not even aware that that is the voice of a self speaking inside of us, because its constant judgments have been with us since early childhood. and its running critical commentary feels like a natural part of ourselves. And it develops early in our lives, absorbing all the judgments of all the people around us, the expectations of society in which we live. Our parents, our teachers, even our classmates, our friends. And you cannot please your inner critic. No matter how much you try, you cannot please it. No matter how much you listen to it and try to change yourself in the way it wants, it just follows you and grows stronger. It's exactly like a parent who's been critical of you. You know, and it's also like the dragon in fairy tales that we had when we were growing up, right? More heads so long that you could not deal with it. Nothing that you do is okay. Not only that, but the harder you try to change yourself, the stronger it gets. The more you try to please it, the stronger it gets. And the answer is to learn how not to play the game. So that's a little description of the inner critic. It's that the way it's that mirror that distorts us. It distorts our view of ourselves. It distorts our view of the people around us and of the world. I'm going to show you something here. So this is a book that this is where I learned about the inner critic, called Taming Your Gremlin, A Guide to Enjoying Yourself by Richard Carson. And you can get this at Amazon. And in this book, basically, it's a model of the inner critic, the gremlin. They're all just models. The negative self-talk, they're all models of reality. There's no such thing as the inner critic. There's no such thing as a gremlin. Self-talk, I don't know. But anyway, in this model, it says that there's this little monster that rides around on our shoulders and is constantly talking into our ear, saying all this negative stuff, right? It's the process of how to deal with your gremlin, is this book called Tame Your Gremlin, is actually quite simple. It's just not necessarily easy. So let me tell you a bit about it. I'm going to share you a little example of it. So basically the model is simply noticing and choosing. And simply noticing is just that. It's just noticing what's going on inside you, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and particularly starting to notice when you have those internal judgments. It's not thinking about, it's noticing. And you know, when you're feeling something you're not sure about, it's like checking in, what's going on? Or when you start feeling bad about yourself, or you start feeling hopeless or discouraged or depressed, it's like, ask yourself, what's going on? I think about, what's my gremlin saying to me right now? That might get me feeling that way or thinking that way. That's what simply noticing is. And that's the first step in taming your gremlin, is learning to notice, learn about your gremlin, about your inner critic, and noticing when it's around. So you can then choose what you want to do, not choose unconsciously what your gremlin wants. So let me share a bit about my gremlin and give you an example of how this works. So I wrote this gremlin bio. It's an exercise that I do with clients. I learned about. So okay, so the name of my gremlin is the bully. And he's a big brawny guy, the one who used to kick sand in the face of the 90-pound weakling. These are in the Charles Atlas ads were on the back of comic books in the 1950s. I'm a little older than most of you, I think, so you probably don't remember that. But he's nasty, shaming, humiliating. He's, as he said, he's the guy who kicks sand in your face, in my face. What are his habits? Catastrophizing, always seeing the worst possibilities, saying no, denying feelings, shaming others to feel better about himself, judging others to feel one up or one down. I'm better than them, I'm worse than them. Favorite sayings: you really messed up again. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're not a man. You can't do that. You don't deserve to have that or to be happy. You're broken and need fixing. You're basically no good, flawed, defective. You're not going to make it, so just give up. Worry. You are not okay. You're wrong, stupid, screwed up. They're wrong, stupid, screwed up. Play it safe. You'll lose everything if you take a risk. There are more, but I don't want to go on and on. And skills, what is he good at? Making me feel guilty, shaming and humiliating, looking good, being smart, being right. He's a great sand kicker. So that's an example of a gremlin. That's my gremlin, the bully. And I have to be on constant alert for him, because he'll come in any way he can to screw things up. And only if I'm aware of him being around and what he's saying to me and what he wants for me, can then I make a choice consciously of what I want for myself. So there's a lot more to it. I hope that gives you some ideas about dealing with your inner critic, your gremlin, that you can put into practice. I'm happy to talk to anybody, any of you, about that further, if that's what you like. In fact, if you would like to connect further about this topic or any other topic around ADHD, just type in the comment field, #connect, and I'll be in touch with you to set up a time for us to talk. Also, if you're watching replay, please type in #replay. Love to know that you're here. So thanks for joining me today. Again, I'm Coach Ted, your ADHD life coach, and I love helping people like you get organized and productive so that you enjoy life. Today we talked about dealing with your inner critic. And during the presentation, I showed you the book that I use called Taming Your Gremlin, and I will post a link to that book in a comment below when we finish here. And I would like to invite you to join my new free Facebook group, also called Live Fully with ADHD. I'll post a link to the group in a comment, and you can check it out and apply to join if it's a good fit for you. Basically, it's a place for people with ADHD to come together to form. My goal is to form community, for people to share, ask questions, support each other, share experiences, and my job is to help facilitate that. But the more people get involved, the less that I need to do that. So that's it for today. Good being here with you. Tune in next Wednesday at noon Eastern Daylight Time for another Facebook Live. I'll be doing these Facebook Lives every Wednesday noon Eastern Time. So take good care and have a great rest of the day. And